something I was supposed to talk about. So I've been waiting a whole week to do this. I thought I left myself a note. Like something in big, bold letters. I mean, honestly, I feel like yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of The Guido Goes Off. As always, I thank you folks for watching. As you can see by the insanely cheap display behind me, one of the things I wanted to talk about, and that was on Raw last week, we were finally blessed with the return of Paige. Of course, as everyone knows, Paige has been out of the WWE ring for quite some time. Her last appearance was in June of 2016. And, of course, given everything that she had gone through, a lot of people thought this might not happen, but it has. And now, hopefully, we can see her doing what she loves to do. Now that she has recovered from the neck injury, gotten over some personal issues, and that 235-pound weight cut. And not only did Paige return, Paige brought some people with her. As we all saw last week on Monday Night Raw, Paige returned, but it also ushered in the debut of two NXT women, Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. Could be nice. Could be nice. Now, SmackDown also had its own NXT Women's Invasion, which was led by Ruby Riott, who is accompanied by Sarah Logan and Liv Morgan. Gonna be nice. Gonna be nice. Gonna be nice. Gonna be nice. Now, a lot of people have been speculating what all this means. I mean, let's face facts. Though pretty much the groups are pretty well identical. We have one raven-haired lady, a bit more charismatic than the rest of them. You have a brunette, fairly skilled. Sarah Logan is actually really skilled, but I'm still trying to figure out why they turned Crazy Mary Dobson into a hillbilly. But I digress. And a blonde. Ooh, I'm trying to figure out why anyone... Okay! Let's move on. So, by my figuring, this takes a lot of figuring, kind of. As you can see, there's a lot of ladies now on the main roster. By my count, we've got 11 on Raw, 10 on SmackDown. Now, a lot of people are speculating what this will mean. Now, of course, the big thing has been kicked around, and there's conflicting reports on whether or not it's going to happen, and that is a Women's Royal Rumble match. It has been talked about for quite some time. As I've mentioned several times before, I'm all for it. But now you actually have the amount of women to pull it off if you wanted to do a 21 Royal Rumble match. Now, of course, you'd have to subtract champions, which in this case, like, as it stands right now, I know things can change, but let's say things don't change until after the Royal Rumble. You would have Alexa and Charlotte not participating in that Royal Rumble because of the fact that they are champions, and the winner would receive a title shot. So you have about 19 women on the main roster. Now, of course, there could be surprises. As we know, the Bellas have talked about returning, as well as perhaps some surprise re-entries of people that have been talking about returning to wrestling. They could possibly be in the Rumble, such as I remember talking about Candice Michelle. Let's see, Caitlyn, and some wag that was probably you might have heard about. I'm trying to think of her name, but I keep drawing a blank. Anyway, so with that, you would have a couple of surprise entries. You would have a 20-woman Royal Rumble match. Another theory that's been kicked around, of course, is a tag team division, which would make sense, but if you were going, I would think if you were going to do a tag team division, you would have added, instead of a couple of these women, you would have added the iconic duo, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. That would make sense to me, as they are normally work as a team, even though there's no team title for the women on NXT either. But the prevailing theory going around is that these women were brought up simply because the roster was getting stale. And whose fault is that? Is it these women? No. I would say that's more the fault of creative. The people you pay to be creative. But I'm, of course, digressing. Now, there has been this theory that has been kicked around by creative of Paige being behind both invasions of Raw and SmackDown. So essentially, you would have, let's circle the people involved. Now, basically, you would have all these people involved in an angle between both brands, which would essentially, if Paige is leading it, would essentially give Paige complete and total control of the women's division. All told. Because, well, let's say, they beat up Sasha, they beat up Bayley, they beat up Mickey. You had a running Alicia Fox. And Dana was nowhere to be found. She's still running. And then, of course, on SmackDown, Charlotte got beat up, Natty got beat up, Becky, Naomi. The rest of these nowhere to be found. So, if that were the case, it would mean that Paige is in line for something huge. I don't know, maybe even taking the Raw Women's title, maybe even both women's titles, but I would say that'd be a bit much. But it does seem like they're trying to put something together between her and Alexa Bliss. Remember, Alexa's kind of gone through everybody on the Raw Women's side except for Paige and Asuka. Let's face it, she beat Sasha, she beat Bayley, she beat Nia's her flunky. She beat Mickey. I don't think Alicia's gotten a title shot, but they made her team captain with whatever the heck was on her head. And why bother? Anyway, but it has also given some rise to some women on the main roster worried about their spots. Which I can totally understand that. But all I can say is it's as an attempt to bring new life into the division, and of course, adding different feuds. I'd say it's great. But what I'm worried about is, okay, you've got identical looking people in all three groups, And what a lot of people are worried about is that this is simply the clearest and most egregious example of simple cut and paste booking, or copy and paste booking, depending on which side of the pond you're on. And that's just stupid. But this is WWE, so we've learned to expect stupid. All told, though, like I said, it's iffy whether or not a Women's Royal Rumble is going to be taking place, but you got all these pieces. It would seem like that would be the case. So let's take a look at who has been brought up. For now, all these women have been in NXT, some for quite some time. What a lot now, of course, a lot of people don't really get like some of the relationship. Now, I can understand why they had Sonya and Mandy with Paige, because they were two contestants on this latest, on the 2015 edition of 2015, the last Tough Enough. Okay, now these two are two of the only three left from that in the company. The company hired like a lot of them, including, of course, the two winners, because you're supposed to. But these two and Velveteen Dream, formerly Patrick Clark, are the only three left from that. Now, we've been seeing Sonya a lot on NXT as of late. She had been working her way up, even having a feud with fellow Invader Ruby Riott. Now, what a lot of people are concerned about is because Sonya Deville's got that MMA gimmick. Now, she was a former MMA fighter prior to being part of Tough Enough. But with the fact that you have, we know that Shayna Baszler's been signed. Also, Ronda Rousey both being signed to WWE, who are far more successful in the MMA game than Sonya Deville ever was. So makes you wonder if it's kind of a shit or get off the pot moment for Sonya. Kind of the same with Mandy as well. Like I said, she's been in NXT for quite some time, but yet really hasn't had that exposure. I know she's worked like house shows been like in a few battle royals, but really, that's all she's done in NXT. And plus, remember, this is the one that Miz saved because she's hot. Let's not forget that part. Okay, now going down to the SmackDown ladies. Now, Ruby Riott really hasn't been in NXT that long. She's the former Heidi Lovelace, for those of you who remember her from the independent scene. Now, she has been involved in some on-camera stuff, actually quite a bit. She's gotten, she was part of a Fatal 4-Way for the, she was part of a Fatal 4-Way for the women's title while Asuka was still holding it. She did jump in against Sanity when, she did jump in against Sanity. Like, that was her debut. But like I said, she has spent a considerable amount of time in the spotlight, kind of in the midst of, right in the thick of things. So it's odd seeing her making the jump so soon, because I would think she really hasn't been in there for very long. She really hasn't been part of NXT for very long. But then again, she has considerable indie experience and knows what she's doing. Same with Sarah Logan. I think she was brought in like right around the same time. I think she was part of the signing class that Ruby Riott was part of. I know that, now known as Sage Northcutt was part of this. Oh, wait, no. Hold on. Yeah, Ruby Riott was part of the class that signed Kimberly, now Abby Lath, that one lady that made Daphne go away, you bitch. And yeah. But, I know Sarah Logan was either like just before that or just after that. Um, but again, you got two strong, um, have a lot of experience and are kind of ready to go. I just think it's interesting that they have them come up this soon. Um, as like I said, they haven't spent a lot of time on the developmental roster, like whereas you have the iconic duo who's been on there longer. And then you have Liv Morgan. You have Liv Morgan. You have Liv. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's should have got off the pot time for her as well. She has been in developmental for a number of years. In fact, I think she hadn't even been signed to a full-time deal for quite some time. As many people will know, yeah, but I'm not seeing it. I mean, I know she's already got heat with Carmella because they basically have the same gimmick. And don't give me that. Well, she's not. Well, she's from Jersey. Carmella's from Staten Island. No, don't give me. They're both blonde. They both wear sneakers. They both have an attitude. It's the same gimmick. Location doesn't help. Because honestly, um, but hey, I don't make decisions for WWE. I mean, it'd be nice if somebody did, but so that's basically a backstory of these women. Oh yeah. So I don't really talk too much about Sarah Logan. I know she was known as crazy. I keep drilling this. She was known as Crazy Mary Dobson on the independent scene. And for some reason, the creative forces in NXT decided to turn her into a hillbilly. Because people from Louisville, Kentucky don't wear shoes, right? Freaking Yankee idiots. But, like I said, very well, you have some talent here. And it could be interesting to see where it goes. And like I said, we'll see how things go. Like getting that Royal Rumble, getting that, see if there's a tag team division that comes about from this. As we know, there's been a lot more emphasis on the women's division in WWE. And maybe it's that time. Also maybe cutting out some dead wood. Possibly. But let's try to look at the positives. We've got the biggest women's division that WWE's ever seen now. And you can do a lot more and you got a lot of talented women all throughout. Not just the call-ups, not just Paige. You got a lot of great talent. You can do a lot with this. Here's hoping that they do. Like booking more than one feud with the women. Be nice. Be very, very nice. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of The Guido Goes Off. As always, I thank you folks for watching. Hope you enjoy Raw tonight. So what do you think of the call-ups from NXT? What do you think of Paige finally returning to WWE? What do you think is going to happen with this huge women's roster? Why don't you let me know in the comments section below, and of course you can always talk to me via my social media. And as always, like this video, share it with everyone you know, and if you haven't if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. Also, hit that bell for notifications. Once again, I thank you folks for watching The Guido Goes Off. So until next time, I'm The Guido, And I think we're done here.